Oh, no. Let's try this. Testing, 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 testing. Let's try this. Testing, testing. Why is it not working? Testing, testing. Oh no. Abort, 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 abort. Okay, that's better. It's still not that. That's better. That's still not that great though. Oh, it's still not that. It's still not that great though. All right, hang tight. I'm gonna try something else. It's still not that great though. All right, hang tight. I'm gonna try something else. All right, let's try. Hang tight. I'm gonna try something else. Let's try. Something else. Oops, I should have muted. Okay, testing, testing. Okay, testing, testing. Oh, I think we're working. Woohoo! Okay. Okay. Testing, testing. Oh, I think we're working. Woohoo! Okay. Okay. Let's close that off. Okay. That's such a shame. This is why I need an assistant, right? This is why I'm excited when we move to daytimes. I have an intern. She's dating my son. So I have a very vested interest in her being my intern. And even though I'm running out of admin stuff for her to do, I'm like, I need to come up with more stuff for her to do. So it's like, how about you make some phone calls? And I'm like, I think we'll try to do these Wednesday afternoons when she's working with me, but I just don't know how well it's gonna last. Like now I'm tilted. Can y'all see me? Okay, anyway, we're not gonna stress about this. We're just gonna go ahead and go. Today we're going to be talking about imagination. And we've got a lot of great stuff to get through today. It's a really, really important part of the Think and Grow Rich book. And so I really do want to talk about that today. Now, before I get into it, I do have a couple of announcements. I don't have the landing page for the conference yet, but the Women's Wealth Tour, the Women's Wealth Summit, the Women Building Wealth Together 10th Annual Conference is going to be in Tampa. We're changing the name and we're going to go back to moving the venues around now post COVID. I'm very excited about that. And we will be in Tampa, Florida. We will actually be on Harbor Island. It's going to be a very small, intimate group, but it's still going to be very powerful. I am so excited about the speakers that we already have who've heard me talk about it. And even though I don't have the page up for them to register, they're like, I'm in, put me in, coach. And they're going to be phenomenal. All right. So, hold on, y'all. I just dropped people again. So I want to make sure. Okay, no, y'all can still hear me. Okay, that must just be the internet. Okay, so the other thing that I wanted to announce today. Okay, one of the things about imagination is it requires us to think and really think. That's how we develop options. And when we have options, we have hope. But it does require us to think. And most people don't like thinking. I mean, like really thinking. I don't when I first heard George Bernard Shaw say only 3% of people think. No, 2% of the people think. 2% of the people think. 3% of people think they think. And 95% of people would rather die than think. And when I first heard that, I did not understand what he meant. But I'm going to tell you, there is a difference between thinking and mental activity. Most of us don't like to do, not us, because we're elevated. You're on my channel. But most people don't really like to do the heavy work of thinking. And so, we got a little bit of housekeeping. Maybe we can call it housekeeping. It does sound a little bit formal, right? But there's just a few things that I want to go through before we start. Okay. So one, this is normally our fireside chat day, but because we're in the middle of Think and Grow Rich, I'm bumping out the Think and Grow Rich lessons. So if we have time at the end, I will answer some of the questions that have come in. Okay. We don't have that many questions today. I think a lot of people are scared of me because I think they're afraid I'm going to tell them, don't you overspend for Christmas. Well, guess what? I am going to tell you, don't you overspend for Christmas. Don't you overspend giving your poopy doos those big old bunch of toys are just going to break tomorrow. Okay. Be sensible and put something aside for your future so that you can have Christmases on your own terms 10 years from now and 20 years from now. All right. All right. The other thing that I wanted to bring out to you is an idea that I tried to float last time that we taught this lesson. And I didn't do a great job at it. Can we just say that? Two of my mentors, Roddy Galbraith and Paul Martinelli, they gave me this series a long time ago, Here to There. They're the ones that I actually bought the license to teach the version of Think and Grow Rich that I teach from. And they had done a here and there with Les Brown, John Maxwell, Nick Vujicic. I mean, they've done at least 5 of them, right? It's because they're on number 5. And they're quotes. They're quotes from different thought leaders and different programs. And let me tell you the story about why it's called From Here to There. Okay. So when Paul was first starting to study personal growth, he would create these, what he called power tapes. Okay. I call them affirmations. Um, I don't really call them tapes anymore. Well, you know how we all used to have cassette tapes, right? So he would take quotes from the books and other stuff that he was reading and he record his voice to it. And then, he had the theme of Rocky behind it. And when he was driving for his cleaning business from here to there, from office to office, he would listen to this cassette tape and people would ask what the tape was. And he would just say, oh, it's something I'm listening to when I run around from here to there, when I'm running around. So that's where the name From Here to There came from. And it got me thinking, I was like, oh, I should do something similar. And I did something like this when I gave my life to the Lord. I forget where I got it from. I think it was Joyce Meyer when she was still cool. All right. Uh, I recorded myself reading my confession list, JJ's confession list. Some of y'all have seen that. It's a series of affirmations based on scripture to listen to when I had downtime. And I had tried to do it last year and it didn't work out. And then I tried to do it better this year. And I had hoped it would be here by now so I could give it to you as a bonus for our auto suggestion lesson, which is not a publicly broadcast lesson. So if you want to walk with me through the lesson on auto suggestion, you need to get access to the class at the link below on the screen, jjclink.com/tagger5, TAGR5 for Think and Grow Rich 5, because that one's not broadcast. Okay. That's a very closed and personal discussion. And I want to make sure that only people who are ready to take action and actually use the content are going to have access to it. Now, don't you be mad at me for saying that. All right. Because you and I both know we listen to a lot of things as we're coming and going. We let something play while we're cooking dinner. We let something play while we're walking, but a lot of times we don't take action on it. Okay. But those are really in-depth lessons. And so that's why that lesson is behind the portal. Okay. And so I did this and I flopped it last year. So I did it again. I was like, I was determined we were going to get this in. And so what happened is I finally got a good recording and then we realized they're tailored to me. I made the affirmations for me. They're my affirmations. It's JJ's confession list. I used Joyce Meyer's confession list and I created my confession list from her confession list. So it was for me, a wife and a mom, right? Well, what if someone isn't a wife? Okay, I'll record a version for that. Well, what if someone isn't a mom? Okay, I'll record a version of that. Well, what if they're a mom but not a wife? What if they're a wife but not a mom? And so this took forever. And I finally think we're done. And then, well, what if they're a man? Y'all, we primarily serve hardworking women, but there are a few good men that come alongside with us. So I was just like, okay, we're gonna have to figure something out. And it's in my notes. It's in my notes for today. Offer them the confession list, but it hasn't been produced yet. And so then I'm going through it and I'm trying to look at how Paul and Roddy did the Here to There, and I discover that the From Here to There license was actually included in another license program that I have. So I can actually record that for you. So all this time, I could have been done offered you the secular version. Y'all, sometimes we just don't. Sometimes we just lose opportunities because we are not paying attention. Well, my loss is your gain. So if you, so I'm thinking about doing that one too, but only if enough people want it. Okay. So only if enough people want it. And because it's one of those things I need y'all to test it for me. It's brand new content. I need somebody to test it. I need someone to let me know if there's any bloopers or typos or anything. Not typos because you're listening to it, but anything like that, right? So I'm gonna make you a very, very, very special deal on it. I don't know what it's gonna be yet. It's not gonna be free. I'm gonna tell you that right now because I put a lot of time and energy into this recording, but it's not gonna be $1,000. How about that? It's gonna be somewhere between free and 1,000. All right. But I'm only going to finish I'm only going to do more adaptations of the confession list, and I'm only going to create the from here to there if enough people want it. Okay. Well, how many is enough? Well, you know what? I'm gonna be like Abraham, right? So Abraham asked God, "Well, would you spare Sodom and Gomorrah if you found at least 50 righteous people?" Right? And God says, "Okay, I'll spare the town for 50 righteous people." And Abraham, he was interesting. I love his tenacity, you know. He says, "Well, I wonder if you would, if only 40 were found. I mean, would you destroy the city for lack of 10 people?" And God says, "Okay, I'll spare." Now, this is not exact scripture. I'm paraphrasing, y'all. God says, "Okay, I'll spare the city for 40." And I think Abraham must have been thinking about his nephew Lot, who lived in Sodom. He keeps going until he gets God down to 10 people. And you know what happened? God's angels only found one righteous person in between those two cities, and that was Lot. And he didn't spare the city, but he saved Lot. So as long as I get one person for each version, either you text me about JJ's confession list or you text me about from here to there, as long as I get one person, I will finish the projects, okay? And if I don't get one person, then I'll probably finish them next year. Because I want them for me, but I've got it for me. Like I can play my own voice for me. And honestly, if you are concerned about any kind of auto suggestion thing, now granted, the lesson on auto suggestion is going to be behind the portal. So if you're interested in this, you want more information about this, you want to understand more about auto suggestion from a biblical standpoint, you want to get the lesson. Okay. But just a little tidbit, if you're ever concerned about that, record your own self. You know the spirit you have in you. If you're filled with the Holy Spirit, then you should be able to record yourself, whether it's scripture or good quotes or daily affirmations or something to help elevate your life. Record yourself. Okay. And that's what I did. And it's been very helpful for me over these, 20 years since I've been doing that. Okay. So here's how you're going to let me know that you're interested. You're going to text me. I'm not going to drop this in the chat and I'm not going to put this in the comments because I don't want everybody and their brother to AI scrape my phone number and my email. Okay. But you can hear me as you're listening to this, or, you're listening as you watch. 254 454 4673. Or you can email me at ministerwiggins@gmail.com. Okay. Either the for here to there or the scriptural confession list. You tell me that's what you're interested in. I will finish the products. And because you're in the first batch, you are going to get it for way less than everybody else who comes after you. All right. Okay, so we are talking about the chapter on imagination. Okay, and imagination. I'm. I still left all my. I still left all my actual books in my office. I keep meaning to bring them here, and then I go to the office and get distracted. And so, I'm using the electronic version of my book. The one. So I have this book up here. Okay, I have this book up here, but the difference between this one and the one that I published on Amazon that I bought the license to so I could publish it on Amazon is that the one on Amazon has the line numbers so you can easily follow along. Okay. So if you already have the course, go into your portal. You've got an electronic version, absolutely no charge in your portal. Okay. Or you can order the print copy on Amazon. And I think I just need to go ahead and put in an order and just have like 10 here and 20 there and just take them with me wherever I'm selling stuff. Okay. So I'm going to use the online version. So we're already fumbling with the camera situation and the mic situation. And I noticed the other day, sometimes it doesn't look like I'm looking at the camera, but I'm looking at the camera. And then sometimes I look at me to make sure I look okay and make sure my hair's still cute. Because it's the end of the day and little one played with my hair. But then it's like, no, I'm not looking at them. So then it's like, where am I looking? Well, sometimes I'm going to be looking at the script. Okay. So with that said, with that said, let's go ahead and turn to the chapter on imagination. And if you are in my version of the book, then that is page 101 of the electronic version. And I don't have my print version here to 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 confirm what page number it is. And it should be the same, but you know the way printers are, things can sometimes be a little different. Okay. So we're this chapter starts on imagination, but what we're actually going to do, so this is imagination, this is the fifth step towards riches. Okay. And what I'd like to do, if you don't mind, we're going to jump down to line 310 of chapter on imagination. Each chapter has its own numbering. Okay. We're going to come back to, hopefully today. If not, we'll do it in the bonus in the portal, synthetic imagination and creative imagination. Okay. Those are very important to understand. And we're going to jump down to line 310. Let me scroll down there. Okay. We're going to scroll down to line 310. And I am not scrolling fast enough. Let's do this. Okay. Yes. Okay. So this is a little bit controversial. Okay. Just a little bit, because I'm one of these people that he's talking about here, right? He says, if you are one of those who believe that hard work and honesty alone will bring riches, perish the thought. It's not true. Now, this is one of these kind of programs that most of us have kind of been had downloaded to us at a very early age. And boy, you got to challenge it. I'm not saying don't work hard. Okay. I am not saying we don't want to work hard. I believe that anyone who's going to make a big difference in this world is going to work hard. And I believe that everything that we want is at the other end of hard. It's outside of our comfort zone. You know, John Maxwell likes to say everything you want out of life is uphill, right? Everything is uphill. And that's just how life is. You have to work for it. Inertia takes us, not inertia, but just the natural devolution of things takes us into chaos and low energy. It's an expelling of energy, not an increase of energy. Okay. And so, but at the same time, y'all, at the same time, if we believe that hard work and honesty alone is going to bring riches, that is not true. Riches come, it says, when they come in huge quantities, are never the result of hard work. Riches come, if they come at all, in response to definite demands based on the application of definite principles and not by chance or luck. Okay. So, and then he goes on to say, generally speaking, an idea is an impulse of thought that impels action by an appeal to the imagination. All master salesmen know their ideas can be sold where merchandise cannot. Ordinary salesmen don't know this. That's why they are ordinary. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. You know, and I remember being caught up in this, y'all, because I was working hard. I was working hard and being a person of integrity, and I didn't get rich. I got in more trouble. And there's no more honest or hard work than being in the military, right? And I just couldn't believe, well, why aren't I getting rich? Why am I not getting promoted? Why am I not getting ahead? Everybody told me, I just work hard, hard work and honesty. But you know what? There's lots of people who do honest, hard work that will never break free. And that's why I decided to do my affiliate program to entice all of you to please go to people you know who may be operating at a lower level of awareness, that are stuck like where I was. The Lord guided me to Sherman Ragland, and I paid the money for his real estate course. Technically, my ex did. He bought it for me for my birthday, right? And Sherman didn't start with the mechanics of real estate. He started with the mindset, with Think and Grow Rich. That's where I got this book from. With Think and Grow Rich, and a recording. We had to listen to it every night, called The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. Do you know what the premise of that recording was? You are what you think about. And this was the first phase of my growth, was with this concept. Even though a lot of principles we're talking about are the same principle of scripture, I didn't understand the why of why it worked. I didn't understand the idea of vibrational frequency. I had studied it in grad school, but I didn't understand the application to real life. You can work really, really hard and not get ahead. Just like you can go to church for years and not change. I remember a meeting a long time ago. I had just accepted my calling into the ministry, and we were at the pool of Bethesda, and Bishop White was making a point about how the Lord changes you. So he asked, "Who's been in the church 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years?" One lady was a little miffed that he didn't get to 20 years so she could raise her hand. She finally spoke up, and you know what he said? Y'all, he said, "Oh, sister, how long have you been in the church?" 20 years, Bishop, she said with a very satisfied smile. And his answer stuck with me all these years, y'all. 20 years? Then why haven't you changed? Yo, you could be in church 20 years and not change. But if you read your scripture every day, if you discipline your body, soul, and spirit through prayer and study, you will change. And if you already understand this, I kind of want to ask you, like, when did you get it? Like, when did it click for you? And my answer is, it was when I understood that I'd become the person that I was at that point and that I could change, because that was very, it gave me hope. It was very powerful. Let me see if I can explain it. But I never would have come to the conclusion on my own. I would have just lived under the belief that that was just me until the end. I hope I'm making some sense here, okay? The information had to come from someone else or something else, because I was never going to come on the conclusion on my own. After years of the Lord trying to tell me, it was so foreign to me. And when I kept praying for an increase in anointing, discernment, understanding, he realized it wasn't getting through this thick skull, and he sent somebody to make it plain. And this is why I think we need help from other people, don't we? Unfortunately, in my life, I didn't have other people who cared about me to pour into me. And I'm there's not a poor me, there's not a woe is me, any kind of thing. But some of us out there, for whatever reason, and I'll never know the reasons why this person over here, everybody fawns all over them, and that person over there, everybody said, "Come here, baby, Imma take care of you." I'll never understand why I would go into one office and the old crusty chief would minister not minister, would mentor this lieutenant, but they wouldn't mentor me. Like, I just don't understand. I have my ideas, I have my thoughts, but I'm never gonna know till I get to heaven, right? And so when you're in that kind of situation and you don't know the power of somebody coming alongside of you, sometimes you have to start, no kidding, by paying somebody to come alongside you. If I had never okay, if my ex-husband had never paid for the course from Sherman Ragland, these things would not have been made plain to me, because nobody, and this not a slight or a shade at my church, okay? I know that I hung out with druggies and other not so savory people when I first got saved, because they were the only ones that would hang out with me, and I just wasn't a I wasn't a I beggars can't be choosers. All the goodly people didn't like me, so I just hung out. I took what I could get. And so I understand why. I'm not throwing any shade at anybody, but I didn't have anybody back there that cared enough to say, "Come here, baby. Here, let's walk through these scriptures together. Come here, baby. Let's do this and do that." I had a pastor in Ohio, Pastor Hudson, and his wife, Minister Hudson, who really cared about me, that they were busy with their own family and their own struggles, and they didn't have the capacity to mentor some crazy gal who just got saved, you know? And so, we need people further along to help us. And, the Lord had been changing me, but I wasn't understanding or seeing it. I didn't understand the mechanics of what was happening. Okay. And part of this is helping us to understand why hard work and honesty aren't enough. I was and still am one of the hardest working and most honest people I know. And we think compensation should reward that. But you know what? For those of you who believe hard work and honesty alone will get you there, you already know that it won't. You've been working hard. You've been honest. You've been true to yourself. You've been true to your priorities. You've been true to your God. And I know it doesn't seem fair, does it? It sounds like hard work and honesty is enough. It doesn't sound fair that somebody who doesn't work as hard as the ditch digger, the maid, the single mom burning the candles at both ends, you know, I remember the first time I woke up and found several $1,000s in my bank account from courses and my bank account from courses people bought. I remember that it was new ground for me. I mean, think about it. Think about it. You want to be a millionaire, right? A billionaire. Sit down sometime and look at what $1 million is in a year. What is when you make When you make several $1,000,000 in a year, what does that equate to in a month, in a week, in a day? It almost doesn't sound fair. I mean, oh my goodness. You're making in a week what somebody makes, I think it's like 2 years ago, someone I know made $54 million in a year, in that year. That's $1,000,000 a week. That's $1,000,000 a week. You think about $200,000 a day. And you start breaking it down to the ridiculous, $32,000 an hour or whatever it is. Okay. I'm not going to do math in public, right? Who could possibly be worth that? Well, he is apparently, right? So to somebody. So how do you balance this? How do you wrap your head around that it's the law of compensation? And the law of compensation tells us that the amount of money we earn is in direct proportion to the need for what we do, our ability to do it, and the difficulty there is in replacing us. Now, the need for what we do, we've probably had nothing to do to to create the need, right? So, like if you're a real estate agent, you didn't create the need for real estate agents. If you sell cars or copiers, you didn't create the need for cars or copiers, right? So recall, God creates two ways. Perfectly and abundantly. So when he created the universe and built into it the laws of abundance, whether or not the idea for the car or the copier came from God, the need progresses along abundance. So there's an abundance of perfectly needed needs, right? And anybody can enter in to the law of compensation. The next part of the law of compensation is where things get challenging, right? So your income is in direct proportion for the need for what you do and your ability to do it. Your ability to do it. Like, how good are you at it? And I've always said this world mass produces average. This country mass produces average. Most people never get to a master's level of achievement. And I'm not talking about a master's degree in education. I'm talking about being an expert in what it is you say you want to do, getting so good that you're so far above the rest. We as a culture mass produce average. And because of that, we got average everything. All right, in the work of Jim Collins, do I have it here? Good to Great. He says good is the enemy of great. You don't get great schools because you got good ones. You don't get great hospitals because you got good ones. You don't get great healthcare because you got good healthcare. Good enough. Good is the enemy of great. And in our lives, our good could be that enemy of our great. And so most people that you know here in America, like the average American reads, I think it's like grade 9 level because we stopped testing at grade 8 in a lot of markets. And most people are never forced to improve on the skill. And then they graduate and never need to read a book again. So many people never read a book past high school. But we must improve. The law of compensation tells us that the amount of money we earn is in direct proportion for the need of what we do, our ability to do it, and the difficulty there is in replacing us. Once we get so good at what it is we do, then we become irreplaceable. And one of the questions that gets asked at this point is, well, how do I kind of burn my bridges from my job and step into this new thing that I want to do? How do I make that $32,000 an hour and that $200,000 a day? And I'm going to tell you, if whatever it is that you're building and you want that to be something that you quit your job, you want to be a full-time speaker, trainer, coach like I am. Yay, me. Uh, I don't want you to burn your bridges from your job. Like, I don't want you to burn your bridges. Okay. And if you're going to stay at your job, whatever it is that you're doing right now, be the best at it. Be the very best at what you're doing and give more than is being asked so that you become irreplaceable, so that the company cannot do without you, that you provide so much value to that company, to the clients, to the internal customers, the other employees, that they can't imagine you not being there. Your value will go up and you will be compensated more. This idea, if we just work hard and if we just do honest work, we'll get ahead. It traps so many people. It trapped me. It traps as many people as the belief that you'll never get ahead without a formal education traps people. It's the same thing. It's not true. I know many multimillionaires who didn't get formal education, who dropped out of high school. Sometimes, y'all, and I'm pursuing my doctorate, so this is not a slam on education. Sometimes I think the more education you have, the harder it is to attract wealth. Now we can talk about that later, but I think it's the mindset behind it, right? Like maybe we'll do a bonus session on education and how the educated actually tend to block abundance. Okay. Another myth, another thing that holds us back is money makes money. Oh, you got to have money to make money. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Well, the poor might get poorer based on their mindset, and the rich might get richer based on their mindset. And it's really easy to buy on these things because at some level, especially when you are tuned into scarcity logic, scarcity vibration, they make a lot of sense. Doesn't that just make a lot of sense? And they make a lot of sense because it seems really logical. Of course it seems logical. Your logic is based on your beliefs. So it seems perfectly logical to you. And so when we look at the need for what we do, if it's not logical, it's hard to imagine expanding the need because there's no expanded need for what we do here in our lives, right? Like there's a book, Think and Grow Rich, right? It's a fantastic book. Got a lot of rabbit trails. Definitely not written for women of color, right? He was definitely not writing to my demographic when he wrote this book, right? But you know what? Did we imagine the need beyond the book? The first time I heard of this book, I didn't imagine a need beyond the book. And now I've imagined that there was a need beyond just reading the book, but now there's a need for the study of the book so others can partake of the book and the wisdom contained inside. And then I take it another step further. So for a while I just taught the plain book. Now today, and if you don't share my faith today, I hope you'll stick on. But now today I'm very unapologetic about the fact that I look at this book through the lens of a biblical pastor. Okay. And so what is this book? What are the qualities in the Bible that mirror what's in this book that these things that he captured originally came from, right? So then I've taken that a step further. And there's plenty of people out there talking about the secular book, but there's not a whole lot of people talking about it through a biblical lens. Okay. And so then we imagine after that, an even more expanded need. Okay. So now I'm talking about these things, but then we realize, okay, there's a need for guides because some people like to have guides. They like to have worksheets to work on. They like to have something to really help solidify the points. That's how some people learn best. And then we realize there's a need for community. And then we created the Building Wealth Together community, which is now the Ladies of Wealth community, right? We serve hardworking women and a few good men. And then we realize there's a need for a live workshop. So that's what we've done, by this book, we've expanded. So he wrote the book, Napoleon Hill wrote this book, but we have expanded upon it in ways that he never could have even imagined back then. All right. I'm going to give you another example. Okay. I should have pulled this out before I started. And now I'm feeling around on my desk that I really can't open with me sitting here. All right. Think about how many different kinds of paper clips and binder clips that there are, okay? Think about how many different kinds of paper clips and binder clips there are. And this, there's an idea, right? Their ideas are energy, and energy does two things. Energy expresses itself and energy expands. We've taken an idea, we've expressed it, and we've expanded, okay? So somebody had an idea. They've taken it, they expanded. Somebody sent their kids to college off of the paperclip. Somebody provided for them for their retirement home, their nursing home, off of this paperclip. Somebody provided for the third and fourth generations to have an inheritance off of the paperclip. And then you know what else somebody else did? Let's see if I have one in here. I used to. I think I took them to my new office. Somebody came along and created the binder clip. The black ones, you squeeze it and it opens up and you put a stack of paper in and it clamps down on it and holds it. Somebody created the binder clip, and then you fold the other things over, and depending on how nice it looks, it's nice and neat. And then somebody expanded on that. Somebody said, well, that's nice, but it's clunky. That's nice the way that the military does that, but it's clunky. I'm going to make a nice sleek one. And then they made nice sleek ones, and they come in all different sizes and depending on how many paper you need to do, and it's very nice and sleek. And then people like like me, when I did my grad school research, we took that binder clip, we sawed off the edges, we used it. I actually used it in my grad school research to hold some reeds on so I could analyze the thermodynamics of the reed, right? And so so people have built entire industries off of expanding just something as simple as a paperclip. And now you've got those little binder clips in all kinds of different colors. And it's funny to me because sometimes I'll see them, they have these big, huge decorative tabs, and I'm like, really? I do too much work. I have too much paper. That's a lot of wasted space for me, but it sells. So somebody must enjoy it. Somebody must enjoy getting a smile out of how their stuff works. I'm a practical person. Somebody else likes things to look pretty. Everybody's different. And guess what? Somebody made good money on that. So look at what it is that you do. What's the way for you to expand? Okay. What's the way that you can expand? Another example, this is going to sound kind of counterintuitive, so just hear me out. Another example in expand and understanding the law of compensation is you or I, we can go down to McDonald's, okay? So first off, is there a need for McDonald's French fries? Well, of course there is. Maybe not in my body, but the sign says billions of billions served, right? They are actually pretty good, right? But is there really a need for McDonald's French fries? You bet there is. Okay. Now I'll come back to that in a second. We can go down. We can watch the kid who makes the French fries at the end of, I don't know, maybe 18 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 3 minutes, right? Like we could probably, however long it takes us to pick up on it, we could probably make them just as good as they do, right? Because there's very little that 18-year-old working a fry booth can do to mess up the best fries in the world, right? You know, it's come on time to work, push the buttons in the order, do the things. You and I can step in and do that, right? And therefore, the dollar amount that that young person is earning is very limited. Any of us, oh, y'all, I'm gonna tell you what, I wrote this script before Trump did his stint at McDonald's. Ooh, I may have to change to another example. Okay. But if you're if you're so any dummy can do it. All right. So if you're gonna enter into the law of compensation, you gotta look at the need for what you do. And the uniqueness of with which you do it. All right. So obviously what you need to do, you got to add more skill, talent, and ability and become more aware of the resources that are within you so that the options for you to enter into the need portion of that equation are expanded. Okay. I'm not gonna be able to reproduce McDonald's fries in my fryer in the kitchen, but maybe I can create something better that meets a different need. Okay. So this is one of the things that I like to do in my 5-star coaching program. We work closely with people and teaching them how to develop their ability to communicate, to speak publicly. Okay. Because most of my clients, they want to be a speaker at some level, whether they want to be on stage or whether they want to be able to communicate in the boardroom, get through a sales presentation, talk to their staff, deal with their wife or their husband. Ooh, y'all. Because if you can communicate your ideas better, more efficiently, more effectively, then you've added more value and you make more money. So I actually have a whole training program for technical leaders. I developed this program when I was still active duty because as I became a leader of other scientists, I realized that scientists and the few engineers that worked with me, a lot of people who were in the technical realm had a lot of difficulty communicating with people who weren't technical. And so understanding that we had to be able to make our points with stories instead of statistics. That was a really huge jump for a lot of scientists. And those who told me they wanted to go into leadership, I'm like, okay, here are the things that you're going to have to learn. And communication skills was one of them. And so my empowered technical leader class is all about how do you take that natural tendency to focus on the data and to analyze the data and to draw rich conclusions out of the data. How do you take that ability and harness it in a way that makes sense to people who wouldn't know good data if it hit them in the face? And let me tell you, if you are a non-technical leader today, I'm not trying to be offensive, but let me tell you what most of your technical people think of you. They wonder, why are you in this position? And so that's another thing that I teach is helping people value everybody on the team. Ooh, that's not in my script, y'all. That's a freebie. All right, but seriously, be thinking about the need for what you do. Think about what you're doing right now. And are you on the right side of the need for what you do? Are you where you really need to be? Okay. I remember when my son told me he wanted to have one of those YouTube channels. He did have a YouTube channel, but he wanted to have a YouTube channel where he was like a gamer and all the kids would come and learn tips and tricks. Now he's very, very good at whatever game that was that he used to play before he graduated. I think it was Fortnite or something like that. It was one of those that was kind of like borderline because it was a lot of shooting and everything, but on the other hand, there was an awful lot of real world stuff with it. So at the time, I was okay with it. But I was like, look, honey, you're not allowed to play video games as long as you need to be able to play them in order to get that good that somebody's going to pay you to show them tips and tricks on the thing. Well, it doesn't mean he doesn't love it and it doesn't mean it's good for him. But what it ended up meaning is he had to learn how to maximize his time. And the sad part, that's not sad. The good part about it is he found a way to become so good that over time, he became one of the best at it. He was constantly winning all his stuff. And so, he could have had, I think he would have a better career being an engineer, but he could have made something out of that. Now that esports are a thing in colleges, like esports are actually varsity sports now, if I'd have known no, I wouldn't have changed it. But the reality is, I was like, look, you're not going to have the opportunity because your mama not going to let you sit on that box all day. Okay. But if there's a great need for what you do, and even if you become the world master, just like you become the best French fry maker at McDonald's, the likelihood of you making riches is slim to none. Unless if when you're in that role, making those French fries and you've entered into the commitment, I'm making these French fries, maybe be the best McDonald's French fry maker you can be the best employee, have your name on the wall every month, be the best, be the very best, be your highest self. Now things begin to change. And your value isn't just that you can make some good fries. Your value is that you bring value to the organization. And that's true of all of life, isn't it? Everything that we do. So what I love about this, and we're gonna jump back up in and we're gonna talk more about imagination, but I need you to get this today, okay? The need for what you do is there in lots of different areas. Now, this book is about money, okay? But this line here about your ability to do it is the service that you're going to provide for the money, okay? So your ability to do whatever service you're going to provide and how good you're going to get at providing that service is key. And that's in this book is talking about money, but it really applies to everything. You want the best marriage? Evaluate your ability to be a good partner. What service you're going to provide and decide how good you're going to get at providing that service. I had to learn how to communicate with my partner in small bits, not an hour-long vent session where I get even madder because he stops paying attention and doesn't remember what I said anymore. Not that I've ever done that. Yes, I have, y'all. Yes, I have. I had to learn the hard way. That is not a way to fix things. You want the best kids? You want the best kids? You want the kids that are just, they're just a joy to come home to? Evaluate your ability to be a good parent and what service you're going to provide and decide with action. Decisions are nothing until you take action. Decisions are just wishes without action. How good you're going to get at it. I had to learn how to meet my boys where they are, not where I wanted them to be. All right. So according to the disc inventory, I'm a high D personality. I can't just relax and watch a movie if I have a pile of work that needs to be done that night. That's just not my style. But I actually enjoy getting work done, right? And especially now that I'm a full-time employee of myself, right? I'm a full-time business owner, full-time entrepreneur. The work that I need to get done is stuff that I choose to get done, right? So I like to get the work done and then play. Work hard, play hard, man. But my sons, they are both high eyes. Then they don't like work like I do. They need fun, lots of fun breaks inserted into whatever they do. Okay. And whatever they're doing, you got to make it fun. I learned how to sing song the homework. Oh my goodness, y'all. I hate it. It frustrates me. But when I learn to meet them on their level, when I learn to sing song the homework, when I learn to tickle the belly instead of stop playing around, we got work to do, it worked. Givers gain. And not only how good you get at doing it, because let's think about this. Have you ever found somebody who's really good, like really, really good at what they do, but they're a jerk, right? Right? It's not just your ability and your skill set, but your ability to be the most cooperative, nicest person, the easiest person to work with. I very much value my reputation as a speaker who is easy to work with, that I'm a nice person to do business with. Okay. And so I told you about my 5-star coaching, and I told you about my empowered technical leader coaching. And part of it is how our platform speakers able to move their products, and how the 5-star program. And one of the things is, like, don't just be an expert, but be a likable expert. I mean, all things being equal, be a nice person. Like, don't make people guess whether you're nice or not. Be nice. Be nice. And it's amazing when you make a commitment to be nice. Boy, does the world give you all kinds of opportunities to be nice. All kinds of them, right? All types of ways for you to be nice. Now, I'm not saying be taken advantage of, okay? But it's your ability to do it, your ability to be nice. It's your ability. And it's not just in the doing, it's in your being. And you could say you enter into the spirit of it. So you can see somebody who's really good, but if they're really good at it and they're just going through the motions, they're not entering into the spirit of it. They're not bringing their life force into it. And even though they may be very, very good, it's not the same. I'll give you a really good prime example, okay? A friend of mine has a daughter with a rare chromosome disorder, and she needed the very best doctor in the world to perform surgery. Had to be the best, or they weren't going to do business with that guy, right? Typical surgeon. They talked about surgeons. You know how surgeons don't have good bedside manners, right? This guy's the best in the world. He trains every other doctor in the world who learns that procedure. But you got to get to know him a little bit to appreciate it, right? Kind of got to dig beneath the surface to kind of find him. But he made a huge difference in baby girl's life. Number one, remember the need for what you do. Number two, your ability to do it. And that kind of takes care of number three, really, doesn't it? And yeah, you're not going to say, well, let's go find somebody cheaper. But I don't know about you, but I'm not a world leading surgeon who trains other surgeons. I'm a financial planner who teaches people how to get out of debt and to invest without going into more debt. There's a million financial planners out there. Now, there's not a million financial planners out there who don't believe in debt. Okay, there's probably hundreds, right? But even with financial planners, there are probably hundreds who use wealth attraction principles like I do to overcome almost $1 million of debt. Okay, so even then, I'm not unique in that. I thought I was, but I'm not unique in that, right? But the clients that have been with me for years, they know that I'm direct, and they're here for me being direct. And they also know that, that I've walked the walk, and I'm gonna tell them like it is, and I'm gonna have all these ideas because I'm an ideas person, and I'm also good on the plan. So I don't just come up with the pie in the sky idea. I actually evaluate the plan, and I'm good at evaluating the plan. I'm not always so good at executing the plan. I'll be honest with you about that. I gotta hire people around to help me execute sometimes, but I'm good at coming up with a good plan. Some people just come up with stuff and then you're like, "Where did you get that from? And did you get it to the next phase of actually flushing it out?" So if you're not somebody who flushes out ideas, before you put money on an idea, please hire somebody that flushes them out. That just happens to be my thing. Like, I'm the person that asks a question to figure out what we can do different and better. I'm the person that comes up with a plan for figuring out what to do better. And then I do that level of research to make the plan a workable plan. And then it's time for somebody else to galvanize everybody around it, and it's time for somebody else to execute. So right, but people who know, but what many of our fields, the person who gets the gig is the one who's likable and easy to work with and fits in with the team. Now, if you're like me and you're like, I'm not going to fit in with untowardness, well, then you're just going to have to accept that that's the money you're going to have to leave on the table. And I'm okay with that, because I don't need your bad money. All money is not good money. Okay. Now, let's link this discussion. Wow, we're already at 50 minutes, but it was important, y'all. That was important groundwork. Okay. Let's link this discussion really into the imagination. Ideas are key for providing our service, of course. Plans are key for delivering the service, innovation and creativity and all those things. Imagination plays a role in all of those. But now we're going to see what a kind of potential imagination gives us. So if you're following along in your book, or if you're using the online thing, if you're using my version with the line, whether it's the printer or the online, we're going to go to line 22 all the way back to the beginning. Okay. We're going to go all the way back to the beginning. Okay. And we're going to look at how imagination gives us the infinite potential. It gives us extraordinary power, y'all. Look at this. Look at this. Okay. Um, let's see, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Uh-oh. Why am I not finding what I'm looking for? Okay. Because I went to the wrong chapter. Like I said, even every chapter starts over. Sorry, y'all. I'm like, that's line 22, but that's not saying what I wanted to say. Well, you know what? I'm already interrupted. Let me take a little sip. Okay. Man's line 22 of the imagination chapter. Man's only limitation within reason lies in his development and use of his imagination. Okay. I want you to write that down. Man's only limitation within reason lies in his development and use of his imagination. Man, if you're using the book, highlight it, write it down, circle it, star it, whatever you do. Okay. Your only limitation, your only limitation of what you can accomplish, what you can achieve lies within your imagination. And I think imagination is in this regard like faith, right? In that people don't realize they can develop their imagination. You really can develop it. I remember just saying, well, like, I'm not going to need a chapter on imagination. Imagination is the devil's playground. Actually, the phrase is an idle mind is the devil's playground, but because we have a very, very good, very powerful, I use it all the time, scripture, casting down all imaginations and everything that exalts itself against the knowledge of Christ, that doesn't mean we don't imagine. It means we evaluate what we imagine and we make sure we bring it into captivity, into the thoughts of the things that the Lord has told us are good and healthy and righteous, okay? Because all we do is create. That's all you do. All you do is create. I mean, you were made in the image of God. God is the creator. All you do is create. Most of us think we're not creative because life we're living isn't the life we want. But that's not the life I want. And JJ, you're trying to tell me all I do is create. And I'm saying I created this life. Yes, I'm saying you created this life. I didn't create this. I would never create this. Why would I create what I don't want? I'm not creating what I don't want. All you do is create. You are a creative being. You're designed to create. You want to design what we call an empowered life. Remember when we did Designing Your Empowered Life? It was that year-long program. I think we need to do that again. Design a life that you would love. So you got to allow yourself to step back into this place of fantasy and really kind of think about what I would really love. I can feel that I'm losing some of you. So let me say this another way, okay? You are sitting in the park and you see a cell phone come flying past your face, and then you see somebody running after it, right? Already you have thought of two or three different things that could have possibly happened. Oh, I wonder if that man threw it. I wonder if that's her boyfriend. He found out that she was cheating. Or like you just come up with stuff. We create all day long. You get a cryptic text from your spouse. You get a cryptic text from y'all. Don't let your boss say, I need to talk to you. You already created, and it's based on your personality. You have already created in your mind what you think happened, and you are already responding. If you think your boss is about to get you a promotion, you're patting yourself on the back and you're walking with a little swag because you just know you're about to go in there and get a promotion. If you think your boss is about to fire you, you're already just down and depressed, and you're thinking, should I just quit now, or should I quit first? And or you're already going through all the anxiety, and you have no idea that maybe your boss just wanted you to come in there because they wanted to know how to reward your coworker. This was really made real to me a couple years ago. My husband got a text from one of his colleagues in another campus that they used to work together. And he said, I need to talk to you. And this is interesting. When he told me, in my mind, I was like, oh, must be something really, really good happened. In my husband's mind, it was, oh, I must have really messed something up. And he's going to tell me I messed up. In his coworker's mind that he shared with, hey, my colleague from another campus I used to teach with, he wants me to call him. And the colleague was like, oh, something happened to your coworker. So all three of us had different ideas of what could have happened based on our personalities. Me and my ever optimistic personality, like, oh, it's probably something really good, and he can't just text it because he knows he can't really celebrate around all the average people around him, right? No, that wasn't it. The coworker was actually right. There was something that had happened to this colleague, and it wasn't very good. But just like that, we had created in our imagination what we thought happened. We couldn't even have not done it. Now I could have reined it back in. If I'd have been smart back then, I would have probably just, I probably would have just let him talk and not inject myself into this conversation and just let him talk. We can rein it back in, we can evaluate it, we can change it and change. But the bottom line is we create. And as much as we create in response to anxiety and frustration and fear, 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 how many times do we ever just allow ourselves to just imagine what it is that we would really love? You gotta daydream. Today I had a I can't I gotta find the right time to share it with my husband, but today I had a few minutes in between, running around and going to go pick up my son, and I was like, I could get half of a thing done, but I don't like to just get half of a thing done because I still gotta ramp back up later. So I said, "You know what? I'm just gonna lay down, and I'm just gonna do some visualization." It was like 5 or 7 minutes, that's all I had. And I was like, "I'm gonna lay down, and I'm gonna do some visualization." And I just visualized something that I want for me and my husband in the future, and it was just so precious to me. And honestly, most people haven't used their imagination correctly since they were in the sandbox. But what would you really love? What would it look like? Do you even know? When I came home from that military trip to find my house sold and divorce papers and $845,000 of divorce debt, I didn't know who I was or what I liked. And I remember my son had a coupon to the ice skating. Some of you've heard the story before. But it's still very illustrative. I didn't even have the money to join him, right? Like I just sat on a bench watching him. I was just numb. And this guy was buying a cookie for his wife or girlfriend or whoever it was. I think it was a date now that I think about it. And he asked, "Well, what do you want?" And I realized because she was all and she was trying to pick something. And I realized I have no idea what I would want. If somebody asked me right now, what cookie would I want? I didn't know. I didn't know what I wanted. Because in my life up to that point, I wanted whatever my ex-husband wanted. He was going to criticize whatever I chose anyway, and it was easiest just to go along with whatever he liked. If I was with a group of women, I liked what they liked because I wanted so badly to fit in and make friends and be accepted. And honestly, most of the time when I like something, nobody else likes it. And I'm okay with that now, but I wasn't okay with that back then. And over time, I kind of lost myself. I wore clothes I couldn't stand to please the church mothers. I went to events I couldn't stand, watched shows that grieved my spirit just so I could have something to talk about with my coworkers. Like, how long has it been since you used your imagination to really step into what you would love? To really feel the sun on your face and the sand in between your toes of imagining the life that you want, to really visualize your best health. I think the challenge when we talk about goal setting is that goal setting is an intellectual process. It's a skill, and you can develop that skill. And what that means is you have those intellectual faculties, right? There's perception and reason and the will, there's memory and imagination. And when most people are setting goals, they use the wrong faculty. It's an intellectual process. Yes, and we're using our intellectual mind. And so what most people do is they access reason and memory. And they become aware of this inspired idea of what they would love to do. And immediately they begin to reason away. I'd never be able to do that. I mean, because look at your past, look at your memory, what your memory says you can do. You've never been able to do that. Remember when you tried to do that other thing? You're not going to start a cleaning business. Don't you remember the last business you had when you were 5 years old? And Gary told you outside that you were gonna do this and you were gonna do that. How you gonna do this? How you gonna do that? It sounds so logical. Well, yeah, that's true. I'm not any good at business. Okay. And before you know it, your dream is dead on arrival. It didn't even get a chance. It didn't even get a breath of life. I mean, we just kill it. We kill it as soon as it comes in. It's a fight. And life is a fight for territory. And your dream is fighting for this place in your imagination so your imagination can breathe life into it, to give it a chance. One of the thinking hacks I would do is when an idea would come to my mind. Well, let me tell you, I was the saboteur, right? I could sabotage myself. I was the master at killing my own dreams. I mean, I just create. You get people say, "Well, how did you do that? How did you go from being one of the slowest kids in grade school to having just degrees and distinguished military career and international best-selling author, speaker, coach? Like, how'd you do that, right? You don't even look like somebody who would do that. I know." But really, it's the application of principles and little thinking hacks to support those principles. And so, one of the things that I did is that when I would imagine what it is that I wanted, and I had this dream, and instantly and automatically, the programming of my old, back then, current belief system would measure the deviation from that frequency and say, hold it, not a match, not a match. This new idea is not, nope, I want you, nope, nope, nope. You know, it's like these lines of frequency that represent the current conditions and circumstances of our lives. Okay, so here we are. We're down here living life like this, right? And then all of a sudden we have this inspired idea. Boop, and it's inspired, and now we got a spike. I should draw this out. No, I'm not going to draw this out because this is laying on top of a whole bunch of stuff. But I've drawn a spike. I'm trying to spike up towards the top of the page, right? That's my elevated. I mean, I could draw a spike to the top of the page. Like, here's what we're thinking. Here's the idea. Boop, elevated, right? And as a spiritual being, we can tap into the spiritual idea and instantly and automatically our subconscious mind down here where all of our subconscious programs are stored. We have this idea up here. Up here, we have this idea. And as soon as we have this idea, our subconscious mind begins to compare the frequency of this idea and this new idea to the programming. Nope, not a match, not a match, not a match, and automatically rejects it. Oh, I can't do that. Well, why can't you do that? So here's the crazy thing. We make this emotional split-second decision based on the subconscious difference between the inspired new idea and where we are. And then once the decision has actually been made subconsciously, now we try to fill it in with logic. Ooh, yeah. Well, why can't you do that? Well, I don't have the money to do that. Well, why else can't you do that? I don't have the time to do that. Well, why can't you do that? Well, I don't have the connections to do that. I don't know the people to do that. Well, I don't have the resources, the skill, or the talent. Or here's the biggest dream killer of all. I've never been able to do that. We reason it away using our reasoning mind, and down you go back to your old life and back to your old frequencies. And so my little life hack that I'm going to give you today, as we're talking about imagination, is as soon as this idea comes into my awareness, and as soon as my subconscious mind wants to try to kill it on arrival, just kind of talk to yourself and just say, you know what? I'm just playing around. I know I can't do it, but what if I could? I know it's crazy. And you just talk to that. I know it sounds crazy to be saying this out loud, but you just talk to that little voice, rebuke it. This little voice, this voice of doubt, this voice of judgment, you got to make it real. You cannot afford the luxury of a negative thought. You can't afford the luxury of having a limiting belief go unchallenged. It's like the schoolyard bully. If the schoolyard bully comes up on Monday, takes your lunch money unchallenged, what's he going to do on Tuesday? He's going to take it again and again and again. You gotta, if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything, right? You have to create this hack, some kind of hack. And this is just one example. Okay. You know what? Okay. You're right. I have no idea how I'm going to do it. I'm down here. This idea's up here. I have no idea how I'm going to do it. And we use platitudes. Well, if God brought me to it, he'll bring me through it, right? But we don't really believe him, because if we really believe him, we wouldn't be having this internal fight. Okay? So we have to get to the point where we believe him. I believe it now. When the Lord puts something in my hands, or he puts an idea in my head, I'm like, oh, this is big. I can't wait to see what the Lord's going to do. But that's now. Okay? That's after all these years, right? And so when I was back in the day, okay, you're right. I'm probably going to fail. But let's just explore for a second. Like, what if I could? Like, if I could do it, what would it look like? What would I look like? If I was creating the brochure for this dream, this elevated dream, what would that look like? Just trying to find 3 minutes of life for my dream. Because here's what I found. Here's what I found. Here's what I found. I used to drink Dr. Pepper constantly. And when I would have Dr. Pepper, the urge to drink would be like, ooh, it would come on hard, but it wouldn't last the whole time. It would eventually fade away. And if I could just fight that urge for 4 to 5 minutes, my mind would get distracted sooner or later, and then I wouldn't want the Dr. Pepper. I would almost forget about it. You know what I mean? It's the same with the dream. You gotta fight for a space. You gotta fight for just a little bit of life for that dream to have. Just to give that dream just another couple of minutes. Usually your program limiting belief will say, well, go ahead, silly. As long as you're not taking it seriously, we don't have to do anything. And it goes right back to sleep. Now this voice fights to keep things normal. It wants to keep everything normal. Tell you what, that inner voice is two things: lazy and loyal. In other words, it's lazy. As long as I'm going to dream about doing something, go ahead and dream. Go ahead and dream. But the minute I actually step out to do something, it's like, whoop, uh-oh, danger, danger. We got to stop her. We got to stop her. We've been through this before. We failed last time. Stop it. Stop it. So in order for me to change the behavior, it requires that subconscious to go to work, and it's going to pull out all the mental files of everything that's necessary to start doing things. Nope, nope, nope. We prefer for her to sit on the couch and eat another bag of Cheetos. And that little voice is also very loyal because it's representing what you told it you wanted in your life. Oh, y'all, when I first heard this, it hurt me to my core because you allowed that program. I know. I know. Some of you are like, what? You've allowed that program, and it may not be your fault. It isn't my fault that I was labeled dumb as a child. And even after I worked hard to overcome academic deficiencies, it was always, well, she's book smart, but no common sense. Her sister got the beauty and she got the brains. That wasn't my fault that I developed the belief that I was dumb and stupid and ugly. That wasn't my fault, but it's my responsibility. And some things have happened to you in your life that have held you back, and some things that happened in your life to kill your dreams. Maybe it wasn't your fault, but it is now your responsibility to change it. That inner voice is being loyal. And if you haven't given your subconscious mind a new directive to operate from, and your subconscious mind continues to reject new ideas that really would serve you, understand that your subconscious mind is doing that out of loyalty to you. It is protecting you. It is your defender. It's not there to sabotage you. Kind of ends up doing so, but really it's trying to protect you. Your limiting belief is an energy. It's an energy, and you have to understand that energy is comes in different forms. And we're going to talk later about transmuting energy, but understand that when you have energy, when you have a negative, you transmute it to a positive, you transmute it to a negative. Whatever you're doing with that, you don't get rid of the negative because it's energy. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. Now you can transform it. Okay. But you'll never get rid of it. So you're like, well, how do I transmute the negative to the positive? Well, transmuting the negative to the positive is a creative process and creative energy. I know this is getting kind of woo-woo, but stay with me. All right. It can be found in a lot of different types of energy, a lot of the different bodily urges that we have. And it's one of the most powerful creative forces that we have are those cravings that we have, even the sexual energy that we have that creates life. There's an entire chapter in this book on the transmutation of sexual energy. And the funny thing is especially church people don't want to talk about that chapter, but it used to actually, the fact of energy used to be talked about in our intro to preaching class. And so I'm just going to leave it at that. Once there were more women in the class, they kind of stopped talking about that thing. But this is not a new concept to people. Okay, a whole entire thing on that. But it's the same for any kind of energy. You get the kind of energy that you need, and then you can transmute that energy to anywhere. So most people who read that chapter, most people who read it, they don't understand it. They don't even want to teach it. Okay, they won't teach it in mixed company. Now, you know, I will, and we'll talk about that later, okay? But I don't do that publicly. That's another one of those that's behind the portal, okay? And so, we just don't want to go there, but we have to understand there's all kinds of different energies that we have that we can harness to rise up. But our natural desire, our brain's natural desire is to stay where we're comfortable. Stay where we're comfortable. You know, I don't know why I keep going back to that chapter. Maybe I'm trying to entice y'all to come. But it's like politics and money. People don't like to talk about that stuff. We're actually going to talk about all of those things. We're going to talk about all the chapters, including that one. Okay. There's other sources of energy, and learning to transmute them is going to help us. So when the dream comes, okay, the dream comes. We're living our life. Boop. Got a dream. Got an idea. Got an idea. Finding a way for a minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes or 4 minutes to just entertain the idea of the dream before you kill it, before you immediately reject it, before you make an agreement with limitation. Give that dream some time to breathe. And people wonder, well, how can I create what it is I want? Well, pay attention to what you're paying attention to. So, in other words, when this new dream comes, boop, it comes to your awareness, and this voice of self doubt or self judgment comes in. You begin to pay attention to the voice of doubt and the voice of self judgment. You begin to give that equal consideration to the dream. And now, well, you know what? Well, maybe, let me think about, no, I mean, I got to be fair to my limitation. I'd be foolish not to consider my limitations. But the minute you begin to give ground or territory or pay attention to limitations, to pay attention to what it just starts to fade away. Isn't this interesting? As soon as I think of a life beyond my conditions and circumstances, a life that would serve me in my highest good, immediately I step in with this judgment. Immediately I begin to think of limitation. And we quickly buy into it. We buy into that invisible boundary because our subconscious mind, our programmed, conditioned mind is using it against us, and it's not trying to, it's trying to protect us. So what I want you to do is challenge that limiting belief. Why do you believe that to be true? Why do you believe that to be true? How has believing that served you? How has believing that if you just worked hard and did honest work, you'll get ahead, and now it hasn't? How has believing that you'll never get anywhere without a formal education served you? How has believing that someone with your background, your history, your medical condition can't do anything great? How has believing that served you? Well, it hasn't. Okay. If you had a magic wand and you could just poof, everything would be different. What would you believe? What would that be? Get very clear about what that new belief would be. And what you're doing is you're the only way to become aware of the new belief is by transmuting the old belief. So we don't necessarily want to kill the old belief until we can tap into it and harvest its good, right? You know, there's really some things that there's some things that come to us, and it really is worth considering. But let's consider it, let's thank it, let's honor it for trying to protect us, and then let's look for what we need to make the dream happen. Okay, what we need to make the dream happen. When something bad happens to us and when we're expressing a negative belief, we automatically think that that's something that doesn't serve us. But can we harvest the good? Can we look at how this has been maybe necessary for us, right? I tell this story in our self-rising program. It's a program that helps you get unstuck with life. That's what we're starting in January. So you definitely want to be a part of that, okay? And I forgot what the link is. I think it's jjclink.com/SIR. I'll have to look on that. But if you look at it now, you're going to get it at a great, great, great discount before it's a super early bird. But the self-rising class helps you get unstuck. It's amazing for moms, dads, entrepreneurs, people who want to grow business, people who want to stop self-sabotaging. Okay. And it's based on the Maxwell Maltz psycho-cybernetics. Okay. And so people may not know what's blocking them. That's what this class is really good for. And so I tell the story of how one morning I go to work one morning. By the end of the day, my coworkers are boxing up my office belongings and escorting me out like a criminal. I was served criminal charges against the military. I was going through a real difficult time in my marriage with my boys, separate medical conditions. I had mine, and then I had just been given the double whammy of getting 10 days to get to Kuwait. And then after I made all the arrangements to move my kids to Texas and transfer all my duties to everybody else, all of a sudden now that next week it gets turned off. And now I'm told I'll be medically boarded and out of a job in 6 months because medically they determined that I couldn't deploy. And then I come to work and I get hit with all these charges that could have meant jail, dishonorable discharge, like do not pass go, do not collect $200. And all of that happened because I was operating from this belief that I was dumb and stupid. And just because I was dumb and stupid, I surrendered leadership of my professional life to people, such as my boss, who I thought were smarter and better. I was damaged. I was legit damaged, y'all. The car accident has severely impaired certain areas of my mental functioning. The man in the white coat said so. He said I would never work again. He said I had about 10 years left of lucidity, and the best I could hope for was to go home and try to be a good mom to my boys before dementia set in. And when I got right up against the wall and got into it very deep, it forced me to see I had made an impressive mental recovery. I was able to build the package with the help of friends and legal counsel to get those charges dropped, but I did that. That day was one of the worst things that ever happened to me, but it was a necessary requirement because it opened up my eyes to the limiting beliefs that had kept me playing small and not seeing how I was actually healing up. And because of that, I've learned so much and made so much progress even further. A lot of people meet me now, and unless I'm super tired, they can't even tell about that car accident. And I never would have done that. I would have believed the man in the white coat with all the letters after his name. That was 7 years ago. My brain is stronger now than it was last year, right? I don't think I've only got, he said I had 10 years. I think I'm well on my way to going, another 20. So when you're and I was somebody who already taught this stuff before the car accident. But I went from being a deputy chief scientist and then being the chief of protocol for a major command and having done all these amazing things. I went from that to being not even able to make Monopoly change anymore, to losing time and space and just blanking out, and to driving down the road and forgetting where I was. Like I couldn't even drive anymore. My house was 20 minutes away from the base and I would have to call people to come drive me. People get tired of being your friend real quick when you have to call them to drive you 10 minutes home. And the only way we gain understanding is through study, and again and again and again. You want a deeper understanding, go deeper in your study. You want a better understanding, go more frequently. Repetition is the mother of skill. Okay. And so, we don't want to suffer from shiny object syndrome anymore. Okay. We don't want to chase after this and chase after that and chase after this. And that dream never gets a chance to grow. And when you fully realize that you have the power to visualize your heart's desire and you can hold on to it with your will, you have been given dominion over all things. You've been given dominion over all conditions and circumstances, and you can hold that with your will. You can attract to you the things that are necessary. And that necessary thing is money. It will come. If it's time, it will come. Now you may have to let go of this. You might have to let go of that. You might have to let go of the limiting belief that I'm too busy to make this work. You may have to let go of some things of a lesser value to reach for things of a higher value. But whatever this idea is, if the Lord put it on your heart, if the Lord gave it to you, if he's called you to it, if he's wanting you to do this thing, you will attract whatever it is. The minute he put that idea in your mind, you were already fully resourced to do everything that you have to do. The people that need to be there to up-level the event, the people to open up the doors for you, the people to provide the food, make the connections, bring the skill sets, the talent, everything. You've got a dream and you've got something to do. It tells you that you're on to something, that you're even here today. That ought to give you some hope, You've been attracted to this building wealth together, ladies of wealth community. We've got we've got 500 or 600 people on Meetup. We've got another 200 or 300 in the Facebook group. I don't think I've done a very good job of that, but the people who are in there are people who are all thinking about prosperity and abundance and service and adding value to people. You will attract the things that you need for the fulfillment of the future. It's a lawful process. It's a lawful process, and we're not going to dig into them tonight because I'm already way too long. But the laws of vibration and attraction are woven throughout this book. We're going to talk about them, and again, I am not talking about anything woo woo. I am not talking about anything that is contrary to the scripture. Everything that I'm talking about, y'all, is in line with scripture and has a scientific backing behind it. Okay, and so one illustration I'm going to give you is an illustration that Bruce Norton, I've been trying to find this video, but Dr. Bruce Norton not Norton. Bruce Norton's a pretty cool guy too. Uh, hey Bruce, if you're watching, you're awesome. Real estate investor out of PA. But Dr. Bruce Lipton, he did this. He showed the experiments where they had the metronomes going, and they were all in line. Okay, they were all in line. And then he would take one and they would set it differently. So it was doing something different. Over time, it itself would line up with all the rest of them over and over and over again. There is a universal, I don't want to say universal because I don't want you to think that I'm going this direction with it, but the way God created the universe, there are certain laws. One of those is the law of vibration. Okay, one of those is the law of attraction, and when we are in harmony with what we want, our energy, it broadcasts to others, and we resonate with people who are of like kind and like energy. And in this case with the metronomes, you took one person whose energy was a little wonky and you put them in the community of other metronomes who are all in sync, and eventually that wonky one gets in sync. So maybe you feel like a fish out of water today, right? Maybe you feel like you've never been around people who are pursuing prosperity. Maybe you haven't found anybody who's really going in the direction of your dreams, right? And nobody's going all the way exactly in the direction of your dreams, but I didn't know when I was growing up that there were people out there who wanted more out of life than just sitting on the couch watching TV all night. I didn't know that even existed. I didn't know that there were people who were cool people who wanted more than just drink up your paycheck and then be broke the rest of the week. I didn't know that. I'm thankful that my mom made sure the bills were paid and there were food on the table, right? She at least did that, but I know so many other people whose parents didn't even do that. So it's time, and your time is now. Your time is now. Your time to take your life to the next level is now. Your time to give light and dream and I mean light and attention and nurturing to your dream is now. And I am so honored that you would walk alongside with me as you achieve your dreams. And I believe that I can help you go further faster. All right. So if this is something that you have enjoyed, I'm going to encourage you today. Oh, I didn't even see the comments. Oh, thank you, sis. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you're on today. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Oh, my goodness. I'm so happy that you're on today. Yes. Um, if this is something that you're interested in, I encourage you to go to the link below. I'll go ahead and type it in the comments just to make sure that everybody sees it. Because I know depending on what screen you're looking at, that little blurb there is hard to read. So Tagger 5 for Think and Grow Rich 5, TAGR 5. Okay. Let's put that out there. And then I will put that. I'll put that there a little bit bigger. Okay, so that comment is out there. You go ahead and join me on that. We're talking about all the other areas of the book, and we're going to get through the book. And now also, if you have a way to get to Tampa, Florida on December the 3rd, I want to encourage you to join me in the afternoon of December the 3rd in Tampa, Florida for our Women's Wealth Tour. We're going to be talking a little bit about some of these issues. We're going to record some of these. We're going to record one of these chapters live, and it's going to be so much fun. It's going to be, I don't know which one it's going to be yet, but whatever one it is going to be the last one that we record for this conference, for this class. And so all the other ones will be done, but that one will be live, and you want to be in the room. You do. Okay. So if there's any questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and get going. Okay. But I don't see any questions. I know today was a fireside chat, and normally we do the questions, but it's also Think and Grow Rich season. So during October, November, we do Think and Grow Rich. So if you have a money question, go ahead and send it to me, and I will make sure to answer it, whether I respond to you directly or whether I do a recording like this. We will make sure that you get your answer. Okay, let me go back and check the comments one more time. Nothing heard, so I'm going to go ahead and close out. I want to thank y'all so much for being with me today. Y'all take care and be blessed. Oh, and if you are listening to this as part of the Ladies of Wealth podcast, I want to encourage you to listen live every Thursday night, 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern. What is that? 7:30 Mountain and 6:30 Pacific. I encourage you to join us Thursday night when we record these live and we extract them for the podcast. So we really appreciate you being here, but we'd love to see you on us with us live as well. All right, for reals this time. Y'all take care. Be blessed. Bye.